Aloha, gang. Dr. Russ Rosen here, and welcome to the OHC System Interviews The Greats. And we truly have one of the greats here, and that is Dr. Robert Martinez. Welcome aboard.
Hello.
So, listen, here's the deal. This is why I wanted to interview you. And for those of you who are listening, Dr. Martinez has been practicing 33 years. He is one of the most passionate, purpose-driven, and principled chiropractors I've had the privilege of knowing and getting to work with. And again, he's 33 years into the game, and he still seems like a puppy dog with his tail wagging, so excited to serve and so excited to help people. And so, as we're looking at best practices, I wanted to start off asking you, how do you do it? How do you stay so passionate, on purpose, principled? How do you do it?
I've never lost touch with why I chose to become a chiropractor in the first place. I mean, I can't think of a better use of my time, energy, and talent than serving chiropractic to, my neighborhood, to the people I love and care for. What is better than that? To me, nothing. There is nothing. There's no higher calling to help people naturally in a loving, kind, caring, and compassionate way and get paid well for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we'll just jump right into this because we were just talking about that as an aside, not really a best practice, which we will be jumping into, but we were just talking about comparing your practice to Taco Bell and Burger King. And I thought it was such a great story. Let's share that with all our listeners.
Oh, this happened years ago. I run a good volume practice, and it's been cash, for many years. And when I first went to cash, this was in the early 90s. I really didn't know what I was doing. I just knew that I didn't want an insurance-based practice, so I went 110% in. It was one of those ready, fire, aim things. So I just said, listen, I'm just going to do cash. And I thought cash meant, cash bills and checks. Those were the days where people were still writing checks. So, but we had collected so much money, the bank had called me and said, listen, congratulations, you're really doing great, but we can no longer pick up your deposits with the guy in the Pinto car. We're going to send out a armored car transport because of the insurance. And I said, what do you mean? And they go, we're going to send out a Brinks truck. And I said, well, oh, fine. He's, don't worry, we're not going to charge you for it. You're just one of our best clients. So it was a little awkward at first because the Brinks truck would pull up and then the guy would get out with a gun and then the other guy would come in the office with a gun. And so it created a stir with the patients. And I just kind of blew it off by saying, well, they'd say, doc, you're doing great. And I said, well, technically that's your money. It's not my money until we get into the bank. So I'm just protecting your money. So we kind of laughed it off. But, it's my habit to run at lunchtime. And as I run in my neighborhood, I noticed that same Brinks truck had pulled away from my office and right up to Burger King. And then it went down the street and picked up its deposit from Taco Bell. And I thought about it because as I run through the neighborhood, I see Taco Bell trash and Burger King trash on the side. And it just always bothers me. But what bothered me more was that both Burger King and Taco Bell are serving people in my neighborhood. And so I got curious and I asked the Brinks driver, I said, well, how much money do they take in? And he couldn't tell me. I said, well, how many envelopes? I know how many envelopes go in each bag and how many bags they take out. So he was able to tell me that. And at that time, Burger King and Taco Bell were out earning me. And it just cracked my head wide open. That became my new goal, was like, you know what, I am going to outserve Taco Bell and Burger King. Because what do they provide for my neighborhood? They trash bodies and they trash the environment, and they're not charitable either. In fact, they do have charities like McDonald's. They're supporting medical charities and cancer causes, and that I'm juxtaposed to. So not only they're trashing bodies, but they're also trashing the environment. And what do chiropractic offices do? Well, we nurture the environment. We're upstanding citizens in our communities. We're certainly not trashing the environment, and we're helping people's bodies. We're the antithesis to them. So why shouldn't we be more prosperous? And I asked you, first of all chiropractors listening, I love and appreciate you for loving what I love. But I hope that's motivating to you as it was to me, and it still is, that we should be more prosperous than our local fast food restaurant. We should be more successful than our local fast food restaurant. Not only do we deserve it, but the people we serve deserve that level of service, love, caring, compassion, so that we can help their bodies grow and prosper in a natural way versus what they might get up the street, our competition, the Burger King restaurant and the Taco Bell and the McDonald's that, quite frankly, are taking in more money than the average chiropractic office. And to me, it's just a reflection of service. We can do better. I know I can do better.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that I always love about you is, we've talked a lot about Roy's looking at headspace and procedures, and the headspace, you always have such an interesting, different lens through which you look at. And it's always a big vision. It's big purpose. It's big vision. I don't know that many of us would have had that same thought of, I'm not okay being out earned by these people who are doing bad for the community. Therefore, I have to up my game. But you do. You have a lot of very interesting perspectives. Along those lines, for perspectives, big vision, serving people, helping people. One of the things that I did want to talk to you about, because I have such a challenge getting doctors to do it anymore. And again, it's just the way you think is so interesting. You still do screenings that you now call what?
Oh, scheduling events.
Scheduling events, right? I dig it. Like, just for fun, everybody. Recently we were talking, because he's done screenings forever and he gets lots of great new patients from it. But he said, I'm going to stop calling them screenings because they're really not. I'm going to schedule people. So we're going to call them scheduling events. Very, very cool concept. So you're doing screenings, you still do talks, right? You're 33 years into the game, you're still doing talks. I have such a challenge getting people to do screenings, doing talks. They think that they don't work. They think that they can just, do a Groupon or something like that. And that's going to build their practice. Talk to me about why you still do these things.
You know what? Screenings are, I think, fun. I wish I had time to do more of them, because when you set it up right, and what I mean by right is, gosh, we do the ones that are right on the avenue. There's always these beautiful, art and wine type events that are right off the avenue, just 2 blocks from my office. And, but it can be done in a very classy way. Dress up nicely, make sure your staff is dressed nicely. If it's outside, put down beautiful carpet. Don't let them, really classy, expensive pins, nice looking clipboards, well decorated. It should be the classiest booth out on the avenue, out wherever you go, whether it's indoors or outdoors. It should be, nice tablecloths, fresh plants, or, silk plants out. It should, like, if you ever go to a nice home show with a really upscale booths, it should look like that. So that it's just a very classy presentation for chiropractic and your own office. And then it's just wonderful. I mean, have that attitude that you're going to meet some amazing people. We've met some of our most amazing long-term patients that way. And so I always read days before and of the day testimonies from patients, so that just remind us why we're out there. Because I get it. I mean, I get the fact that you could say, gosh, why do I have to do this? I'm a doctor. I shouldn't have to be out here doing this. Well, in one respect, I understand that. But if you step back and say, well, do I want to serve more people? Do I care enough about the chiropractic message to put my ego in check and say, well, yeah, if the answer is yes to those things, then go out there with that great attitude, knowing that you're out there saving lives. Because what is the alternative? Letting people, I mean, how many people, I'm sure everybody, if you think about it right now, there are some patients that come to mind. Just think, what would they have done had they not run into you? What would their life be like had someone not referred them into your office?
Yeah.
And that's what keeps me motivated to say, I think we owe it to the public to get our message out there in front of the medical message, in front of the pharmaceutical message. And sadly, we just don't have as a profession, the organization or the money or the clout to bring that message in other forms. So we can bring it in ways that we connect with people at the same time. Because that's the other flip side of it. Isn't it great to go on an exam with somebody you've already met a few days prior, who already likes you, thinks that they already have a good attitude about your office, your staff. So they walk in that door just like ready to go. You've met them, they've met you. There's warm, fuzzy feelings already. It's not an unknown. They're not uncomfortable coming into your office because they've met you. It's a great way to start a chiropractic relationship. And I really, and I enjoy that.
And you know what? We're never gonna beat Coca-Cola, right?
No.
We're never gonna outmarket them. So it's got to be grassroots. I had a really interesting conversation with my mom in the early 90s, and she said, I'm so embarrassed for you and your profession. And she loved chiropractic. And she said, I was at a mall and I saw a guy like peddling his wares. He was doing a screening. And I agreed with her. I absolutely agreed with it. I said, I know that's just so embarrassing because I had 100% internal referral practice. And then I went to Total Solution, and Pat had said, it's not about you, it's about them. And I went, all right, I buy that, I get that. And so I went and I did a screening. And on my wall, I had a 45-foot long wall. And from the bottom to the top, we had these, in plastic, these types of testimonials with before and after kind of thing. And this book right here and another one this size, we got in 2.5, 3 years of testimonials. And when my mom came in, she looked at the wall and there was, I don't know, a couple hundred, just there wasn't any space, just floor to ceiling right next to each other. And she goes, I get it. And I said, what do you get? And she goes, every one of these that I'm reading, it says, how did you find Dr. Rosen? It said he was doing a screening at the fair. And she said, these people and their lives who have changed never would have met you had you not been there. And she goes, I get it. And it was like, oh, cool, me too. Like, it's such an important thing that it isn't about you, it's about them. It's about getting out there and letting people know. And if you're coming from that place and you do read through your testimonials, you do remind yourself why you're out there, then it is that passion, it's that purpose, it's that fire, and we get excited about it. And it is such a dramatically different experience. You've already had a great connection, right? For me, I've done Touch, Tell, Ask, Teach. I've done the whole story. They've said it out loud. They understand this and they come in and they're ready. They're ready to go. These are already educated people. So for those of you who are thinking they don't work anymore, they do. And series of talks. How often do you do talks?
In my own practice, 3 Tuesdays a month.
3 Tuesdays a month. Pause. Did y'all hear that? And I get it. I have people tell me all the time, I'm not willing to do that. I'm not willing to give that up. I have a family. Personally, I did 56 a year for 14 years. 56 talks a year for 14 years. I did advanced talks, nutrition talks, mental emotional talks, basic talks. I would do outside talks. But is it worth, and again, for 3 years, the only way into my practice is that you came through the talk first. So about every 4 months, once a quarter, we'd have someone not sign up for care. And my team, literally, we'd look at each other and go, what? What happened? But they've already been through the talk. They've already seen before and after stories. They already know how long it takes. They already know how much it costs. They already have, seen this. They've already seen this. You get up and you do a workshop and we've palpated. They already know they got it going on. It just makes your life so much easier. So you spend an hour doing a talk once a week. You can spend a fraction of the time in visit 1 and visit 2. And you don't have to process so many people that don't sign up for care. To me, it's just a no-brainer. And obviously for you it is too. Any other things that you would mention as far as why you think docs should do talks?
Yes. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I remember really struggling with this at one point, because the practice was running well. It's like there was no need, perceived need to do it. But I have a wellness practice, and I also don't want to spend a lot of time at the bench talking about diet, exercise, and nutrition. I get it. I do it. I live the chiropractic lifestyle, but it started bogging me down to answer all those questions we all get at the bench. And also, when it comes down to it, the follow through when you trickle information to a patient is very low compared to a group format, because there's always someone in the group or crowd that says, hey, you know what, doc, thank you for sharing this with me at this other workshop. I did this and I've lost this much weight. Hey, my energy is better. I'm sleeping better. It's amazing. I always get testimonies, unsolicited testimonies from my workshops, and that just strengthens the conviction of the patients there, my patients that are there. Plus, it's a big practice builder at this point too, because spouses are there, friends are there. It gives them an opportunity to come into my office and meet us, and then always giving them an opportunity to schedule a new patient visit for the guests that are there. So, we have a good amount of guests that come, and that's a no-brainer for them to show up and come. I would say, and also, by the way, you asked me earlier, one of the first questions said, well, how do you stay spizzed up? Well, that's one of the ways I stay spizzed up.
That's
Is at least once a month, I'm talking pure chiropractic. No one else is going to hear it. There's no pharmaceutical commercial that says, by the way, if you don't want to drug your body with what we produce, go to a chiropractor. So it's the story, it's the message that I don't get tired of telling. And every time I tell it, it inspires me as well. And by the way, get over the whole thing about giving information, because once you get beyond that, then I think you can be much more effective when you get in touch with the purpose. Why are you showing up in your office, and what was your goal? So if your goal is just to give them information, then that's the lowest level of speaking you could aspire to. Because let's face it, when it comes, because once a month I give a presentation on some type of diet, exercise, and nutrition thing. And then, of course, tie chiropractic into that. That's always important. Always keep knowing that you're coming from a chiropractic perspective, no matter what you're talking about. Of course, all the new patients get scheduled for and show up for, the chiropractic workshop. I call it health and healing. But I'm very clear about what my goal is there, because if you think your goal and your purpose as a presenter is just to present information in an entertaining way, well, good for you if you can do that. But let's face it, in this day and age of cell phones, YouTube, Twitter, you name it, they could get more information in a more entertaining way, in a faster, more economical way than showing up at your office. Right. So you've wasted their time and your time if that's what you think you're doing there, is giving them good information. That's a waste of time. It's your time and their time. But there's a level above that in public speaking that is inspiration and motivation. Is you have to make it inspiring and motivating, because we live in the information area. They can get the information, but they don't know what to do with it. So, your job, my job as a public speaker and as a chiropractic doctor is to inspire them and motivate them to take action on that information, to digest it and put it into action. So help them make the changes that they know they need to make. Because oftentimes it's not bursting, oh, I didn't know that, but your reality check is at the bench after a workshop. John, so glad to see you and your wife at the workshop. Tell me. And then they'll say, oh, it was a great presentation. That goes right over my head. I don't even care to hear that. I love that I hear it, but it's not why I did it. The payoff for me is, and the payoff for them is, John, after hearing that, what have you decided to do? What things are you going to do better, more of, or stop doing as a result of the presentation last night? That's the tell. If I get one or two things, I've done my job for them on the planet. So that's what my goal is, really, is that follow through. And I get a lot of that, which is great. But it wasn't always that way. As you evolve as a speaker, learn how to become more motivating and inspiring. Much like, when you're getting coached by Dr. Russ Rosen here. I have lots of coaches in my life. But see, Dr. Rosen knows me well, and he knows what motivates me, and he can motivate me and continues to inspire me to do better. And I love you for that. So thank you so much. I consider it a privilege to be coached by you, because I have grown, and even my enjoyment of chiropractic, which I thought could not improve, has improved with your amazing laser coaching. So thank you so much for all that you've done for me and my staff and my practice.
Yeah, thank you, my brother. And I feel the
But
same.
if you would, I would like to give one, because I think the weak point on doing talks is getting people to show up. And I think no one wants to give a party and say, oh, I got 30 people going and only 2 people show up. No one wants to keep throwing parties if that's going to happen. I promise you, if you've tried doing internal talks, you've had that challenge. We've all had it. I've had it. But I'll tell you a simple trick. I shouldn't say a trick. It's a reality check. Just clear communication. Clear communication. It's just using the Socratic method that Coach Rosen is so brilliant at teaching you and me. And I wish to heck I could give credit to this chiropractor. I only know him as Dr. Jim. I don't know his last name. 15 years ago, I heard him talk, and it changed my world. And I'll share it with you, because I promise you, if you can pull this off, you will no longer have difficulty getting patients to show up for your workshop, your chiropractic workshop. Simply put, at the report of findings, ask them simple questions. Question number 1, let's role play it. Janet, you clearly understand the need for chiropractic care. Is that correct? They say yes. Janet, I'm assuming, but I don't want to assume anything, but I'm going to ask you, do you want well, let me back up before we go to this role play. What is the motivation for doctors? We like lifetime patients. We like them to pay for their care. And we like them to learn something about chiropractic. That's pretty much kind of our wonderful pure motivations. Let's look at a patient's motivation. They like to pay nothing for care. They don't want to learn anything, and they want it to happen now. Yeah. It's not a process. They want it to happen with one visit. I mean, that's these competing motivations. And we wonder, how does this even work, right? Well, and you can force them there, because I used to force patients to my workshop. It works. I mean, hey, I used to say, listen, this is what we do here. If you want to become a patient of mine, you'll have to show up at the workshop with your spouse. If you have 3 opportunities to do that. If you don't, I will dismiss you as a patient. And I did that. Not a good thing to do, because it's force. And especially this day and age, people don't like to be forced to do stuff. And they'll slam you in social media for it. So don't do it. Did it, done it, it works, but it's a lot of effort, and it just kind of against my own ethics. But here's the way that, again, Dr. Jim, and God bless you, Dr. Jim, if you're hearing this, I just don't remember his last name, but it was this tiny little bit of a seminar I'd gone to, but I laser locked into that, and it has made all the difference. And here it is. Recognize these motivations, and instead of forcing patients to do something, attract them to it. So you know what their motivations are. They want to save time and money, and they don't want to learn anything. So recognize their motivations and meet them at that. So here it goes. You just say, Mary or Janet, I understand you see the value of chiropractic care and you'd like to start chiropractic care in this office. Is that right? She says, yes. Tell me, would you like just to get a short-term benefit or a long-term benefit?
Long-term.
Long-term. Would you, so I understand you want a better short-term benefit and you have a long-term benefit to the care that we offer. And would you rather have it happen in a lot of visits or fewer visits?
Fewer visits.
Okay, so I've addressed their concerns, right? That's what they want.
Yeah.
Well, great. Now I'm going to show them how to meet it. So, Mary, I'm glad you and I are on the same page with this, because I got to tell you, the way to save money and time in this office to get better short-term and long-term result, and to save money in the time and money and time in the process, our workshops are designed for you to get just that. Does that make sense to you? Yes, it does. Well, great. Well, then this September the 12th at 6:13, will be your first health and healing workshop. That's where I'm going to show you and your husband how you can get a better short-term and long-term result that'll last a lifetime. That way you'll save time and money in the whole process. Is that something of interest to you? Well, yes, it is. Great. Well, that's what we're going to make sure. We'll make sure that we save a seat for you and your husband at no charge. I feel so strongly about prevention and you getting the best results possible. There's no charge for this workshop, but I guarantee you it's one of those valuable things you can do. So, but that's how you can attract people to sign up for your workshop. And then it doesn't stop there. When you're signing up for someone for a course of care and you pass it off to your staff to get them signed up, make sure that happens first. So when you walk back into the room, Janet's sitting there, say, Karen, make sure, Janet wants to start her care plan here. She's going to sign up for the full 6 months. She's going to prepay for that. And her husband will be coming to the workshop September the 12th at 6:13. Let's make sure we sign them up and save seats for them specifically. First thing, commitment out of my mouth is that. So she gets them to write down, and they literally write their spouses. Yeah, they go and do it. So they commit right then and there before they even sign up for care. So it puts the emphasis on the workshop. And then again, getting attendance every visit, at the beginning of the visit, the end of the visit, and also your staff, if they don't, it's like, Janet, great to see you. Give them the tick of the day. And we're looking forward to seeing you September 12th. And by the way, who are you going to bring as your stretching partner? And then I get the adjustment. Janet, great to see you. I'm sure you're looking forward to September the 12th. I do their adjustments, give them a tick, say, again, we'll see you Monday for your next grade adjustment. And I'm looking forward to seeing you and your husband, Mike, on September 12th. So they get all these verbal reminders every visit, 3 reminders every visit until they attend the workshop. So there's no way they can say, I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. I missed the date. Yeah, there's none of that. So there is no, it's just reminders and enthusiasm for the workshop. So they understand what's going on and see the benefit from it. And by the way, any questions that patients ask, I have little stick-it notes. They'll say, oh, you know what kind of pillow should I, that's a great question. It's what I asked. That's what I answered during the workshop on September 12th. And if it's something you don't cover, write it down. So, but don't answer the questions. No questions are answered in my office until they attend the workshop. I just don't do it because it's a waste of my time. And it shows they're not committed until they come to the workshop. And, here's one. I bowl. Every Tuesdays I bowl. I can't make your workshop. John, have you ever missed, in all the years you've been bowling, have you ever missed a Tuesday night bowling? Well, yeah, I have. Why? I was sick. So you've missed. Yeah, well, this will be one of those times. So, and by the way, you won't have to be suffering at home sick, will you? You're going to be in my office having a great time. So, whatever it is, whatever objection they have for not, doing it, you can overcome it. I go to my Bible study. Guess what? I'm a believer too. Guess what? I'm going to do a testimony. Bring your friends. In fact, have your Bible study come. I've had this happen, by the way. I said, have your Bible study people come to my workshop. I'll make room for them. So, in fact, you can meet afterwards. I'll keep my office open so you can actually have an offsite meeting. And you know what? What do you guys normally provide? Oh, someone always makes cookies. Guess what? I'm going to have, I don't make good cookies. My wife does. I'll even provide the cookies. So I've literally had a Bible study stay afterwards. But I got some amens out of my presentation. It was awesome. So, but I'm really huge on getting 100% attendance at my workshops. But it's not easy. To this day, it takes a little bit of effort and time, but it's so worth it because they become lifelong patients. They understand what you're doing. They'll stay through their care plans. It excites me to see them excited at the workshop. I'm constantly working on my presentation skills because that's how I market myself to get into their companies to speak. So if I do a great job for them in a small group, then that's my interview essentially to go to have them be comfortable, introduce me to the HR people so I can do a presentation at a larger company for a bunch of new people. So it's a great way to build your practice. and have fun. I mean, it's a new skill set. Public speaking is not easy. Apparently people would rather drown to death than get up and public speak. So, so it's congratulations of those who have done the public speaking, but I guarantee you, as you increase your skill set and get clear about what your job is as a speaker, it'll become more interesting and exciting, and you'll grow. And as through that growth, you'll get more invitations to speak, and you'll be more effective with your own people. And that's great. They really enjoy and give me a lot of positive feedback. But again, as I said, be careful about that positive feedback. Ask them, what are you doing? What have you done more of, less of, or stopped doing as a result of hearing me speak? And if you don't get answers, then up your game. When you start getting answers, then you know you've arrived at a higher level of public speaking, when you've been able to motivate and inspire more of your people to take action.
Yeah. And I would say there was so much wonderful stuff in that game that you're going to want to listen to that several times. It is about motivating and inspiring into action. If all you get from them is that was great, then you missed the boat, right? So we all know the story about Demosthenes and Cicero at the end of the orator off, Demosthenes, they said, that was the greatest talk I've ever heard. In Cicero, they said, let's march. The whole trick is to get them to march, right? And you're going to do that from your passion, your purpose, but also from your procedure in your skill set in learning to be a great speaker. In System 4, Module 2, under series of talks, I really lay out, my version of how to give talks, how to inspire, how to structure the talks and all that for those of you who are looking for that. You also had mentioned this, and here's what I know to be true. I know if your patients really get what you do and want what you offer, we can happily get them to stay, pay, and refer for a lifetime. And that's what's fun, because if they don't stick around long enough, they're not going to get the results. It's as simple as that. Robert, you and I were at the Wave and a couple of weeks ago, and Dr. Dan Murphy had done that one study that most of us just under recommend and don't see people long enough. And he went through that one study of how many, how often you really need to see them and for what period of time to get these kinds of results. It's not just the quick fix, but the long-term resolution kind of results. But if they don't get it, they're not going to stick around. I guarantee you 100%, if you're doing a series of talks, and I would do a series like Dr. Martinez does, your basic talk, a mental emotional talk, a physical talk, a biochemical talk, anything else that interests you, anything that turns you on and you're passionate about. I like quantum healing, and so I would always do talks on quantum healing. Largest one I ever did had 175 people at it, and lots of new folks from that. But what you end up getting is you get more new patients who are already pre-qualified. If they're coming in from that, they're signing up, period. And number two, you get retention. So you get lots of new patients, lots of referrals, you get lots of retention, so they can stick around and they can get the results. So, can't recommend it enough. Hope you guys will do that. We're getting close to needing to jump. I did want to comment on a few other things that I think you're brilliant at, if you would just comment on them. One is your training. You're always training with your team. You're always training with your team. I'll say it again. You're always training with your team. And the other thing that you do that I love is you have all these special events, and you send me the greatest pictures from the events that you do. So talk to me about those.
Yeah, I love having fun in practice. And I think especially after these last few years of COVID, it's time. We celebrate chiropractic, celebrate yourself, your staff, your people who stayed with you. We had some turmoil. There's no doubt about it. I'm sure you had some in your out practice too, but we stayed open. We created such a fun, loving environment. Our practice, one of the highest compliments I had even during COVID was several of my female patients with kids said, hey, can we just hang out in your reception area so my kids can play with toys? I just want to take my kids someplace normal, where they weren't masking and weren't doing anything. And so we provide that like oasis of sanity during that time and fun. But our office has always been about that. But we've taken it up even another notch since after COVID, just to celebrate, and we continue doing that. So have fun. I mean, there's all kinds of things on the calendar. I mean, we did a Kentucky Derby day where, I had a hat. We had horse paraphernalia all over the place. The gals wore these beautiful hats, Kentucky Derby hats. And the ticket of the day was like, hey, Kentucky Derby horses get adjusted. Why do you think that is? And it was awesome. It was a great teaching moment because it wasn't about pain. And then it became about, hey, performance. Yeah, the horses get adjusted to perform better. Who do you know who you think would like to perform better? So it was a great referral day. We had donut day, right? There is 2 national donut days. And we used that as an educational thing. We had donuts out there and we had bagels with cream cheese. We said, which do you think is healthier? Well, turns out carb-wise, donuts are healthier choice. And of course, we serve donuts. We have, days where we just pass out oranges. Like, aren't you glad you tried chiropractic? We have raisin day. We have these little box of raisins and we say, hey, aren't you glad, we're raising children to be healthy? Pass out little boxes of raisins. Like, yeah, have you had your kids check for subluxation? One of my favorite days is we have Spizzerinctum Day. Put up the big sign says Spizzerinctum. We ask everybody, hey, do you know what Spizzerinctum is? And we get the funniest comments from our patients, and then we tell them what it is. So, it's actually intestinal fortitude. I used to think it was a specific chiropractic term, which it has been adopted as, but it came from the Marines. Do you have the Spizzerinctum to become a Marine? Originally it meant intestinal fortitude. And of course, D.D. Palmer grabbed that and meant it, the excitement for chiropractic philosophy. But in its original term, that's where there's writings that the Marines were using it. So, but in any case, we have a great time with that kind of those words, like, oh, something you can't say in public, but we just have a great time with it. Recently we take our kids, we love kids on our practice. We gave them seeds, we walked them out to our parking lot, and we have beautiful sunflowers and coming up now. They're sprouted, they're about 3 feet high now. But it's great because we stick a little stick on the ground with the kid's name on it. The kid went out there and planted it, right? So the first thing that happens when they come to the parking lot, the parents have to chase the kid because they're running through the parking lot to look at their flower, see how big it is. Now, we also gave them a beautiful little packet of seeds to take home and plant. So they have they look out their back window. Oh, they call it Dr. Martinez's sunflower, and they water it and take care of it. And they love to see it here in the office, in the parking lot, their own personal sunflower growing up through the parking lot. A lot of fun. We have so much fun with that. And it's just really neat to see. We can see them through the windows just dashing toward their little sprout, and then they measure it to see how it's growing. So it just gives them ownership in the practice, and it's a fun activity to do.
Here's one of the ones that you said.
Oh yeah, and then we dress up. That was for Halloween, which is coming up. So make sure you guys dress up, have fun, decorate the office, have a great deal of fun with it. I like engineering thing and making contraptions. So I even, Oh, what is that? We have James Bond days. So we dress up like James Bond. We have, here's one, the fourth be with you. So I literally dressed in a Jedi cloak. And I'm thinking about that. Oh yeah, what is this one? Happy birthday, or is that the oh no, that is Dr. Seuss's birthday. We always celebrate Dr. Seuss. I have a huge banner that we put on the outside of the building, and it's great. We've had people walk in like, oh wow, are you in education? Because they make a big deal of that in education still. So we've done that. One of the fun things this year, it's funny that May the 4th be with you, the Star Wars Day. I'm in the big Jedi cloak, and one of my older patients who is hard of hearing walks in and is towards the end of the day. And of course, the Star Wars people get it right away. The non-Star Wars people, I'm having to explain that I'm wearing a Jedi cloak. I got tired of explaining that. So one of my elderly patients who's hard of hearing, she looks at me, she looks me up and down, and I knew she had the question. I just said, well, I just felt like dressing in this today. She's okay. She lays down, I get her adjusted. She walks to the front desk. Now, mind you, the staff has layup buns in their hair. She didn't say anything about them. She leans forward as if so that I couldn't hear her, but she's hard of hearing. So I hear her say very loudly, Dr. Martinez has different crayons in his box. And the staff looks over at me, smiles, and agrees. Yes, he does.
He
And just
does.
let him walk out. So, but we have a lot of fun with the dress up days. I think just about every day of every week, there's some goofy thing you can celebrate if you so choose. And I encourage you to do it. Having fun in practice, I think, keeps it fresh, keeps it for you and your patients, especially if the patients have been with you forever. I mean, they really like it. They love that you decorate the office, and we decorate a lot. I mean, it takes a couple of days just to decorate. So it's just not 2 or 3 things up here. We even bring up the full skeleton and put clothes on them, Hawaiian clothes, or dress them like a Jedi warrior, or he was a horse jockey on Derby days. So they always look forward, like, hey, what is Bones going to be wearing? So we, oh yeah, like Halloween, I didn't finish that. At Halloween, we even tie thin elements to the door. So when it opens, skeletons go up and down, or goblins go up and down. And so people stand at the door and open the door and close the door just to see what's moving up and down on the ceiling. So yeah, we have a lot of fun with it. And it's, I look forward to it, and so do the patients.
Yeah, man. Beautiful. We're just about out of time. I got to jump on a coaching call, and you got to go give the next best adjustment you ever gave in your life.
Yes.
Any last thoughts before we head out?
Yeah, fall in love with what you do again. If you came in today or sometime this week and you weren't really excited, I am. I mean, I love my vacations. I love my 3-day weekends and 4-day weekends. We take them off, and I really don't practice 40 hours a week. I still see a good volume. We still see 300 or more patients a week, but I do it in a very condensed way. But I got to tell you, I love my vacation. I love my time off. But boy, Monday mornings, I'm excited. And I think it's time just to spend some time, a little bit of thought time, saying, why did I become a chiropractor in the first place? And reconnect with that reason, the big why you became a chiropractor, and why you want to serve people and love people. And when you put the focus on serving, loving, and giving out of your abundance to others, then I think that's where you can really type into some excitement and some energy and joy for what you do. And I love you for what you do. And I hope you can reignite that spark within you, that chiropractic spark that can blossom and grow if you feed it, so that you do walk in with excitement, energy, joy, and love with every patient you lay your hands on, because they can feel that and they know that. And when you do that and get in touch with that, then you can have passion again for what you do as a chiropractor. And when that occurs, I don't think there's a higher calling, as we started the talk with. When you're on fire, when you reignite that passion for becoming a chiropractor and being a chiropractor, being the best chiropractor you can be, boy, I tell you, a whole nother level of joy will blossom, and everyone benefits from that, the least of which is you.
Yeah. 33 years in practice, guys. 33 years in practice. This level of excitement, this level of passion and purpose. If you're not at that level at the moment, give it some thought. What do you need to do to get to that level? Because the truth is, and Robert, I'm sure will agree with me on this one. Watch my eyes. A couple of blinks and a decade goes by, right? I mean, it's like time. The older you get, the more you recognize how quickly time goes. Enjoy what you're doing. Help the people that you're working with. Do the best you can. Be the best chiropractor you can possibly be. Love your life. Yes, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you doing this with me. It was fantastic. You're always an inspiration to me, Dr. Martinez. The rest of you, as always, much love and aloha, my game.